We need to be grateful for things that we can find to be grateful for. If it were not for the Roman Catholics, we wouldn't be standing here. If it were not for the Roman Catholics, we wouldn't be at Capernaum. If it were not for the Roman Catholics, we wouldn't be in a lot of places that are now set aside as sacred so you and I can come and see these places. And so I want to just say a word of gratitude, because we need to give honor to whom honor is due. These people have paid a price for us to be here. And as we go through these sites, the same thing's true at Capernaum, just below us, because they've held that site for generations, and because of that we can go to the place that we know was Jesus' headquarters here in the Galilee. The reason we bring you here is because this is a site that fits the parameters of the Sermon on the Mount. And there's 2 or 3 reasons for that. Number one, it is close to Capernaum. Now, just where our buses are parking, if you go back down there and the bus is parked where those other buses were, at the back of the bus there's a sidewalk. You can look right down on Capernaum. This is just right above Capernaum. And so the events of the Sermon on the Mount were likely very close to Capernaum, because everything, it seems, that was during that time period when Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount, everything was done near Capernaum. That's one thing. The other thing that, for me, clinches this site, not this where we're standing right here, but really down below where we are. Let me tell you why those are. Many times when we are using illustrative material, especially for those of you who were older that came up in a different time period, Sunday school teachers and small group leaders used to have little pictures they would hold up, especially for children and so forth, and they would say, many of those pictures are classics now, but one was with Jesus standing on the mount and giving the Sermon on the Mount. Well, that's the opposite of what it would have been. Jesus would have been below, and the people would have been on this bank right below us, which forms a natural theater. Now, there's 2 or 3 places like that in this area, but none that are close to Capernaum like this. And so this is a place that's above the sea. It is absolutely shaped perfectly down where this plantation is below us, and it is facing where I'm talking about in the right direction. Why? Because of what we're going to read about here. I'm going to have someone to read Matthew chapter 5, 1 through 16, which talks about a city set on a hill after the Beatitudes. Now, the city set on the hill, I personally believe, after years of researching this, is Hippus, which we just came from, where we're staying, is En Gev, and En Gev, right across from it, is the ruins of that Decapolis city, one of the 10 city-states, Greek states, that was located on the other side of this lake. The people at Capernaum and all along the Gennesaret Valley, every night they saw that hill light up. It was a Roman city. I mean, it wasn't a little city. It was a major city. There were 10 of them, and all of them were on that side of the Jordan River, on the eastern side of the Jordan River, save one, which is Bet Shen, which you will learn about as we go to Jerusalem. And so this is a city that they saw every night. It wouldn't have been a city behind them up on the hill, Safed, that some would call it, and simply because they wouldn't see that at night unless they were in a certain angle. Everybody in this valley would look right across. There would have been torches on the streets over there. There would have been houses that you could have seen sparkling, just like you do the lights of Capernaum. And so Jesus, remember, when I had a session with you yesterday, I said the Bible's not complete in details, nor is it a movie script and says Jesus pointed here and he did this or did that. But the reality is, you know by these 2 guys here, I've never known a Jew that couldn't talk with his hands. I mean he had to have his hands. And you know, see, perfect. And so I can't imagine Jesus like this. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. No, I just don't believe it was like that. And so I believe that he was pointing, and every motioning, everyone knew that. Again, Why doesn't the Bible say that? That's not the purpose of the Bible, to give us a blow-by-blow color commentary on everything. Why? Because everybody knew what was. Remember, the first thing I taught you, every Bible writer from Moses to John assumed that the people to whom they were writing understood the language, the history, the geography, the cultural customs of that day. And so they're not explained except in rare occasions. And so this right here is a perfect example of something that I could write this in a book and have written it in a book. But you've got to be here to experience it. You've got to be over there, see that city. You've got to be here at night and see what's glistening on the other side in order to understand what Jesus said to these people. So do I believe this is the area where Jesus did the Sermon on the Mount? Yes, I do. But am I 100% sure about that? Absolutely not. But it does have many of the parameters that we need if we're going to search for a site, because it was a multitude, and a multitude that followed Jesus, we know in many cases were thousands of people. He fed 5,000 men at one time, okay? So that's not counting women and children. So a lot of people followed him. This place below us will hold thousands, just like a theater. And Jesus would have been down below that. And the Bose Corporation several years ago, you know Bose, Bose came over here and went all around this valley here looking for places that they think would have had the sound equivalent for a man to stand down there and to speak and for thousands of people to hear. This was one of the places where they said that could happen. So it fits the parameters. And so what I want you to do while you're here is listen to some of the words that Jesus spoke while he was here in this place. And ladies and gentlemen, you're here. This is not somewhere in America. This is not in Colorado. This is not in a mountaintop. You're here. The sea is at, you would have been looking at that. Jesus would have been down below. Let's read the scripture.
Now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven."
Thank you, brother. Jesus did what all good teachers do. He took the things around him that people were used to, and he brought spiritual truth to bear. He used two things: light that people saw every night across the way when it lit up that city over there on the hill. And he took salt. Salt was one way that Roman soldiers and other people were paid. And it was, as a matter of fact, salt is the root of what we call salary. It comes from the word salt, same root. And so the whole idea is that there is a primary purpose for salt, and that's to be seasoning. But if the primary purpose is not used, then it was not wasted, but it was trodden under the foot of men. They would use it when it lost its salty taste and its seasoning ability and that quality. It was trampled on the roads, and they would put it out, and it would mix with the soil and form a kind of what we call pug in the States, where you put down this crusher run, and it kind of packs down and makes it easy for people to walk on. But that's not the purpose of salt. Purpose is to bring seasoning, is to bring taste, is to bring vibrancy. That's what Jesus was saying. And he did this all the time. You remember, he was on one of these hillsides, we don't know when someone came to him, and folks, hear this because we're not good at this in America. But here's what Jesus said. When people were coming and saying, I want to follow you, I want to follow you. Here's what Jesus said. And he was on one of these hillsides when he said it. He said, if you want to follow me, here's what it's going to be like. About that time, a flock of birds flew over. And he said, every bird has a nest to go to. If you want to follow me, and about that time, maybe a fox came on the side of the hillside because these hills are filled with foxholes. And he said, every one of those fox that you see, they have a den to go into. They have a hole to crawl into at night. If you follow me, understand it may cost you your very place to stay, and you may not have anywhere to lay your head. That's not the kind of Christianity that many times we see in America, but it's the kind of Christianity, it's the kind of discipleship that turned the Greco-Roman world of the New Testament age upside down. Because that's a commitment. You're all in at that point. And so Jesus was calling people not to a watered down lifestyle, but to totally follow him with everything that's within them, to sell out, leave nothing anywhere, just completely sell out to him. And as you walk these roads over the next couple of days, don't forget that. This is not just about you and I coming over here and getting more knowledge and getting deeper in the Lord. This is so that we can take this, go back and do what God told us to do, and that is be salt and light and sold out when we get back home. Good enough? All right. Well, let's, as you walk around, you can walk all the way around. You can go up on the porch and walk around if you want to, but if you will just go right down here before you start, just where this landing is, if you look down, you can see this theater right below you. Remember, an amphitheater is what we call it, but an amphitheater, amphi, is the word for both, okay? So what is an amphitheater is literally an arena, okay? This is a theater, just like we saw at Caesarea. And so there's one of those right here, only it's natural. So Jesus would have been down there speaking to the people. They would have been looking across the lake. Does this make sense? Well, you can see it right down here.